Hi, I'm Gabe from Unsolicited Designs, and welcome to Report Cards for Wilds of Eldraine. I'll be reviewing every Mythic rare card from the set and giving them each a letter grade for how Mythic I believe the design is. The score is based on the power of the card, how unique and exciting the design is, the thematic cohesion of the card, and the range of deck building options it opens up. This video is part 2, where I'll be looking at Mythic rares 6 through 10. I hope I'll earn a like and subscribe from you by the end of the video, and now without further ado, on to the review. Looking for answers? This Mythic tutor has the solution. For 3 black and 1 generic, you get Beseech the Mirror, a sorcery with bargain, which means you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast this spell. Search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. If this spell was bargained, you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost if that spell's mana value is 4 or less. Put the exiled card into your hand if it wasn't cast this way. Personally, I don't enjoy playing with or against tutors, but putting that aside, I think this is an example of one that is very well designed. Being able to draw the perfect card from your deck can completely alter the course of the game, particularly when you can grab it at a low cost and have enough mana left over to cast it at the same time. So I think the mana value on Beseech the Mirror is really as low as this type of effect should get, and the triple black in its casting cost will help limit your ability to cast a heavily colored follow-up. Tutor design space can be fairly narrow, so pushing this into Mythic territory without going overboard is tricky to navigate. But, from a non-competitive standpoint at least, I think they've done a great job. This design includes multiple knobs or variables that make it stand out amongst its peers without getting too far out of line. You can cast the tutored spell for free, which is very potent, but only if you pay the bargain price and only if it has a mana value of 4 or less. That means it's going to be very hard to net any mana advantage off of casting Beseech the Mirror. I certainly understand that there are plenty of busted options in competitive formats, and combo pieces that can likely be abused. But tutor design space feels a little bit stale, so I like seeing a new mechanic put to good effect here. Does this Mythic tutor play fairest of them all? I don't know about that, but I do believe it deserves an A. Next up is a Mythic green creature with loads of text, and I don't hate it. For 2 green and 2 generic, you get Blossoming Tortoise, a 3/3 turtle creature that says, whenever Blossoming Tortoise enters the battlefield or attacks, mill 3 cards. Then return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Activated abilities of lands you control cost 1 generic less to activate. Land creatures you control get +1/+1. This turtle really wants you to play with lands. And considering the man lands printed in this set, it's no surprise. Still, there aren't many other cards that have 3 different abilities involving lands. On its own, this turtle might be able to regrow 2 lands for you, once when it enters and once when it attacks. But with only 3 toughness, I really don't think you should expect more than 2 activations off of this creature. But you can greatly improve your success rate by including fetch lands and others that can sacrifice for an effect. I like everything this card does, and I think it'll play nicely as long as you make a few minor considerations when constructing your deck. But if I'm being honest, this isn't any more effective than other options at every other rarity as far as indiscriminate ramping goes. And it's significantly weaker at regrowing lands than yet more options, again at lower rarities. So the reality is, this card only feels mythic because of the amount of text it has. All of it good and cohesive, but not really unique or compelling beyond the novelty of them all being found on a single card. Blossoming Tortoise isn't bad by any means, but I don't think it can justify its mythic status when it doesn't ramp better than many uncommons or regrow land better than many other rares. So at the end of this story, I'd say this tortoise gets a C, though just by a hair. Next we have the fairest of them all. Eriette of the Charmed Apple costs 1 white, 1 black, and 1 generic, and you get a 2/4 legendary human warlock creature that says, each creature that's enchanted by an aura you control can attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of auras you control. This card is ripe with value, essentially adding additional abilities to all your auras. They each become part cessation and part subversion, and the amount of life you can drain will start to add up very quickly. A subtle but important aspect of this card's design is that, while it may prevent your opponents from striking out at you and your planeswalkers, they're still entirely free to wage war on one another. Combined with Eriette's life-draining ability, I think your opponent's life totals will dwindle much faster than they expect. I love how this card encourages you to use a card type that isn't usually the best candidate for the job compared to the powerful options available. Additionally, because Eriette augments what your auras do, it opens up more options for you to experiment with. certain more aggressive choices look a lot better when you know you're insulated from the fallout. And maybe even a focus on auras that grant bonuses can be put to use creating Voltron creatures for your enemies to clobber each other with. Of course, it will be crucial to keep Eriette in play, so plan accordingly. This card has all the hallmarks of an excellent design. It encourages you to play a unique strategy, allows you to comb through Magic's past, present, and future catalog for inclusions, and only costs 3 mana to get going. All of those traits allow Eriette to sweet talk her way into the S tier. It's wall-to-wall Warlocks. Hylda of the Icy Crown costs 1 white, 1 blue, and 2 generic. You get a 3/4 legendary human warlock creature that says, whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, you may pay 1 generic. When you do, choose one. Create a 4/4 white and blue elemental creature token, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, or scry 2, then draw a card. Wow, in the same way that Eriette augments your auras, Hylda turns your taps into triple threats. And there is certainly a rich catalog to pull from in white and blue, as well as colorless options that are respectable inclusions. And while tapping creatures has some utility, it looks downright unfair when it comes with a 4/4 or draws you a card. I'd say they push the options on this card extra hard. The ability to scry 2 and draw a card is an effect we've seen at 1 blue mana before, but as a repeatable effect, it will keep high quality cards coming. It's the 4/4 elementals that really put the icing on this card. They're oversized compared to most creatures, especially when you consider you only have to pay 1 to get them. And they're in white and blue, colors not especially known for their large creature tokens. Add to that Hylda's ability to add counters to each of your creatures, and you can overwhelm the board. Of course, all of that is considering only tapping 1 creature at a time. If you want to build a snowman army, or draw a new hand's worth of cards, you won't be lacking for choices to tap down multiple creatures at once. Combine that with the utility to remove your opponent's blockers, and neutralize their options to attack you, and you have an incredibly versatile and powerful design that plays into a massive subset of cards with largely untapped potential. They were wise to include the 1 generic mana requisite in Hylda's trigger. Even still, she can snare your opponents in her icy grip, leaving them begging you to let it go. I should know. Hylda is a cool design that solidifies her spot in the S tier. Lastly, we have the Faeest of them all. For 1 red and 2 generic, you get Kellan, the Fae-Blooded, a 2/2 legendary human fairy. Kellan has double strike, and other creatures you control get +1/+0 for each aura and equipment attached to Kellan the Fae-Blooded. Kellan also includes the sorcery adventure Birthright Boon. For 1 white and 1 generic, search your library for an aura or equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. While Eriette might encourage you to build multiple Voltrons, and possibly under your opponent's control, Kellan wants to be your single target. I like that his adventure half sequences into his creature side, and that the design includes both auras and equipment. It's been a common theme for white and red these days, and those card types need all the support they can get to help offset the tempo and card advantage loss inherent to using them. I'm a big fan of adventure spells, and while I think the power of this card is basically fine, I think having 2 halves is actually hurting Kellan, because it just doesn't look like 2 mythic options, or even 1 mythic option. It's actually much closer to being an uncommon and a rare stapled together, and that's hard for me to unsee. Ultimately, there are a lot of words on Kellan, but very few of them feel very unique or exciting. The ability to scale the power of your creatures is the only thing that's really mythic about this card, and for those reasons, I have to give Kellan a D. And there you have it, our second set of 5 mythic rares from Wilds of Eldraine. Do my grades seem tasteful, or do one of Eriette's apples seem more appealing? Let me know what you think. I hope I earned a like and subscribe from you, and I'd love it if you'd share this video. If not, thanks for listening this long anyways. You can follow me on X at UnsolicitedMTG for channel updates, like when my next batch of grades are fresh out of the oven. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Gabe from Unsolicited Designs, and who asked me anyways?